This is not a drill. The brackets are out for the 2022 NCAA Wrestling Championships, and I, for one, cannot be more excited. Or am I a little bit annoyed and upset at some of the draws and seeds that I saw? Yeah, I've got a lot to say about these brackets, and you're going to get my full, unfiltered opinions in this video. I am not holding anything back. I'm excited to cover the National Wrestling Championships next Wednesday through Sunday. I will be in Detroit, and if you're not already, hit subscribe to the Fanco Wrestling channel so you can stay updated through those championships. Now, part of going early to the Detroit, I get to watch the Rudis Super match happening between Jaden Cox and Kyle Snyder. That's happening next Wednesday on Rudis Plus and also live in Detroit. This is the match that was supposed to happen at the Olympic Trials, did not happen, and we're finally getting this big matchup as well as a bunch of undercards. Like I said, you can still purchase tickets to this event or watch live as a Rudis Plus subscriber. I have everything linked up down in the description below, including the brackets where we're starting out here at 125 pounds. So let's go to 125 with Nick Suriano at the number 1 seed. At number 2 is Vito Ruja. Number 3, Pat Glory. Number 4, Brandon Courtney. And I really have nothing wrong with those top seeds right off the bat. I mean, Suriano's deserving of that number 1 seed. He's like a 90% bonus point percentage. Vito deserves that number 2. He just put a shellacking on Pat Glory at the EIWAs. And so I don't have like a ton of bad stuff happening here. I think Suriano, here's the one thing that I'm annoyed with, okay? Is, like I said, this is unfiltered. So I'm a Penn State fan, and I'm annoyed that Drew Hildebrand is number 16. Not because I don't necessarily think he deserves to be that number 16 spot, considering he didn't have a great Big Ten championships, even though he did All-American last year. But it's the fact that, look at this. He's going to have Nick Suriano in the second round. That's day one, a day one matchup. Now, if he wins, I mean, they did have like a close 1-2 point match in a dual meet. If he does win, he's going to have a nice little ride. He's probably going to run into Pat McKee or Sam Latona or Devin Schroeder. Not easy matches to win, but, it's going to be tough to beat Suriano. He is completely and utterly zoned in to this postseason. It's just like shocking how zoned in he is if you saw him at NCAAs. Not a ton of craziness happening down here. I think 125 is one of those weights where there are a lot of upsets each year. At least it appears that way. I'd like to do the stats on that to see which weight has the most upsets. At 133, RBY number 1. Number 2, Dayton Fix. Number 3, Miguel McGee. Number 4, Corbin Myers. So, hold on. Wait. Top 4, but somebody's missing here, right? Oh, yeah. Austin DeSanto. Number 5 seed? Are you kidding me? Okay. What? Austin DeSanto, number 5, when his his losses on the season are to Rome Bravo Young, the number 1 seed, Dayton Fix, the number 2 seed, who are both undefeated, but DeSanto is the number 3 seed. In which universe does this make sense? Because to me, it makes absolutely no sense. So he's 15-3 on the season, and I mean, if you're an Iowa fan, you're not too psyched about this, because, I mean, granted, if he gets past Mickey Philippi, they've had tough matches in the past, or Corbin Myers, who's wrestling pretty tough, he's going to have Rome Bravo Young here, likely, in the semifinals. And RBY has the past 5 wins in the series. I think it's 5-2 now in favor of RBY. Now, DeSanto does have a win over RBY at the National Championships, but that was from, 3 or 4 years ago, something like that. I'm not excited for that. And RBY is an easier ride, or a tougher ride, into the semis and finals than Dayton Fix. He's been dominating guys this year. And, I mean, I just think he's got a pretty nice ride into the semis. And that moves us to 141 pounds, where got a few things to say about this. If you've been following 141, if you've been following any social media recently, you've probably seen a lot of people freaking out about the medical forfeits. And this is a weight that was huge. We haven't seen half of these guys wrestle. Okay, I mean, that's an exaggeration, but we haven't seen Nick Lee and Seabass. We haven't seen Seabass and Ironman. We haven't seen Nick Lee and Savan Miocic this year. It's just been a year of, a lot of things going on. I mean, granted, there are sicknesses and injuries. Those do happen, so that's just kind of a part of it. But just at the top here with Nick Lee at number 1, Ironman 2, Seabass 3, and Real Woods 4. Andrew Allardyce got that 5 seed, which by winning his conference championship, and he was a guy to watch out for. I think it was one of my dark horses like a few years ago, and he's a dark horse here this year as well. If he hits like Real Woods and here, we got Ian Parker and Parker Phileas first match. So we got Parker. In the top here, I'll be interested to see what Carter Young can do. You know, being the freshman, being a new guy, is he going to succumb to the pressure? He's going to thrive under the pressure. And then Nick Lee and Micic is an early round, a Friday morning matchup that could happen. Micic didn't have the best Big Ten championships, but, I mean, he's a national finalist, and he didn't have the best Big Ten championships at the beginning of the tournament, and then he came back and he placed, 4th? I mean, he didn't end up having that bad of a tournament. At the bottom here, man, if Ironman and Rivera both make it to the semis, whoever comes out on top of that, holy cow, that's going to be crazy. At 149 pounds. Oh, and by the way, another guy there is Chad Redd at the number 19 seed. Yikes. That's somebody to watch out for. I mean, he could have Seabass in the second round. Yikes. At 149, Yanni number 1. Tariq Wilson, number 2, Austin Gomez, number 3, and Sammy Sasso at that number 4 spot. Initially, Sasso at number 4 seems a bit absurd because he's a national finalist last year. Okay? But Tariq Wilson is undefeated. That's why he's the number 2 seed down here. And Austin Gomez just beat Sammy Sasso at Big Tens. So it makes sense why he's number 4. It sucks, because he's likely going to run into Yanni in the semis. If he gets past a lot of these other guys, I think he will. I think he's got a nice little ride into the semis. Bo Bartlett of Penn State here at number 13 seed. And you got to start taking team race into account here where these matchups are, right? Like a Bo Bartlett, maybe he wins the first round, then loses to Sasso. I think he'll wrestle Sasso tough, but he's going to have to get some wins in the consolations if Penn State wants to win that team title. And it's not just a 1-2 team race between Penn State and Iowa. We saw that Michigan had a great Big Ten championships, and I'm telling you, NC State is a tournament team. Mizzou is a tournament team. They won the Big 12s. Arizona State as well. These are all teams to watch out for. On the bottom half, Austin Gomez. I mean, okay, so. And also, you got SoCon dominance, which is something you don't see a lot of as far as like top seeds. Josh Heil is Campbell's top seed of all time. I think Andrew Morgan was the previous top seed at number 8, Heil at number 7. And should he get past Edmond in the first round, he's going to run into Avis or Lovett. Whew. That's tough. And whoever wins that Thursday night matchup's coming out a better wrestler. Likely going to run into Tariq Wilson. And, this bottom half of the bracket is brutal. Absolutely brutal. At 157, David Carr got the number 1 seed. Deacon number 2, Ja'Cory Teamer number 3, and Ed Scott number 4. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't have a ton to say about this bracket. I don't think there's a ton right or wrong with it. I guess it is right. But, as a Penn State fan, I'm not psyched to see Brady Berge with that number 16 seed run into David Carr in the second round. If he does beat him, then yeah, he's got a nice coast to maybe the semis. And the thing is, like, I say coast, like, nobody really has a coast at national. There's one guy who I think has a little bit of a coast, and we'll see what happens. But I'll get to that in a second. On the top here, focusing on the top, Ed Scott. I think he can make a little run. I'm going to be honest with you. He has had a solid year so far. He pinned Caleb Young earlier this season. Watch out for that headlock. He hits that in Detroit. Boom, nails that headlock on somebody. The crowd will erupt on somebody, whether it's I mean, first round, second round, whatever it is. On the bottom half here, the one thing interesting I think I want to know. Okay, so Casto and Austin O'Connor, I think that'll be a good one. Austin O'Connor, we'll see, with it being around St. Paddy's Day weekend, is Austin O'Connor, who is Irish, is he going to have the luck of the Irish on his side? Austin O'Connor. Maybe. I mean, bumping up from 49 to 57 has been a little tough this year. And then the other match, this is interesting. Wyatt Sheets, the number 31 seed, drew Ryan Deacon for the second year in a row in the first round. He lost to him last year, and actually they were on the top here. Deacon was number 1, and Sheets was, I think, number 32 or 33. Now, Sheets lost that first matchup, but then he went through the constellations and ended up All-American. He got on the stand, placed. What was he, 7th or 8th? I think he was 8th last year. At 165 pounds. Oh, gosh. Woo! 165 pounds. Whoever comes out on top of this weight. Wow. God bless him. Okay, so Evan Wick, number 1. Keegan O'Toole, number 2. Both those guys undefeated. Makes sense. I think you could have made an argument either way. I think Evan Wick has a little bit tougher wins. Number 3 is Alex Marinelli. Number 4 is Dean Hamidi. Okay, number 5, you got Shane Griffith, last year's national champion. Yikes. Cam Amin at number 6. Carson Hartzler at number 7. Philip Canigliaro of Harvard at number 8. And look at you got Peyton Hall in the Big 12 at number 9. And then rounding out the top 10 is Jake Wenzel, last year's national finalist. Okay, this bottom half has to be one of the toughest in the entire tournament. So whoever comes out on top here, you're likely going to have Hartzler and Wenzel. Okay, let's say whoever wins that is going to have the winner of, Austin Gant. He beat an All-American this season with Travis Whitlake, even though Whitlake didn't make the national tournament, and he's a national place winner last year. And he didn't even make the national tournament. That's how tough this dang weight is. And Anthony Valencia, All-American, number 18 seed. Whew. Keegan O'Toole, he's probably going to have Anthony Valencia, second round. Whoever wins that, you got the winner of Wenzel and Hartzler. Oh, my goodness gracious. Okay. On the top half, let's look at this. Evan Wick's got a tough little ride with Meyer or Weber, even Canigliaro and Hall. And then Griffith, Hartman, Bullard, Ramirez, and Hamidi all in the same side. That's a tough weight right here. And guess who came out a little bit scot-free is Alex Marinelli. Yeah, he actually, it's not an easy ride. I think he's going to be challenged. Probably his biggest challenge here is going to be Cam Amin in the quarters. But for once, Marinelli's got a little nice ride into the semifinals likely. I think he's got the easiest coast out of anybody into the semis, setting Iowa up and him up for success. And then whoever comes, the issue is whoever comes out on top into the semis and this bottom half is going to be bloodthirsty. At 174 pounds, Carter Sirachi, number 1, Mekhi Lewis, number 2, down here. At number 3, Logan Massa, and number 4, Hayden Hidley. Let me continue here because at number 5, you got Michael Kemmer. Yeah. Dustin Plott at number 6, Ethan Smith at number 7, and Mike O'Malley at number 8. Oh my gosh. What a weight. Okay. So Hidley at number 4, if he does make it to the quarters, and Kemmer makes it to the quarters, they're going to face off. The last time they faced off was 6 years ago, back in 2016, I guess it was 5.5 years ago, at Midlands. And Kemmer came out on top in that matchup. A lot has changed since then in those 5.5 years. They're both up to 174 pounds because that was back down at 157. And gosh, both former national finalists, but only one can survive in advance. And winner's probably going to have Carter Sirachi. Oh, but don't get ahead of yourself just yet because in this top half, you got Mikey Labriola and Garrett Ninehouse and Mike O'Malley are going to be a tough first-round matchup. And Ninehouse, although he didn't have the best Big Ten tournament, he's beat Mike Labriola this season. So if he kind of gets it together, gets everything in order, and he wins that first round, he could have Labriola, who he's beat before, and then we could have a Srirachi and Ninehouse rematch, which was in the Powerade Finals just a few years ago. And wow, that would be an exciting rematch should that happen. In the bottom half, I'm looking forward to Chris Foca and a couple of the other Cornell freshmen. The Cornell has a young team. And so you're going to have guys that either thrive under that pressure, or you're going to have guys that, they go 1-2, 2-2, even 0-2, just don't have a great tournament. We'll see how they do under the pressure, reacting to the big stage. And I think Makai's got a good ride up until those until the quarterfinals when we could run into Ethan Smith again. And if you remember at the end of that match, they actually wrestled earlier this season, things got a little feisty. At 184, Miles Amin at number 1, Brooks at number 2, Hidley at number 3, Parker Keckeisen at number 4, Bernie True at 5, and Muniz at number 6. One thing to say. Why is Trent Hidley not the number 1 seed? Okay, yeah, he lost to Brooks last year in the national finals, right? But pretty much every other weight, you have the guy who's undefeated at the number 1 spot. So why is Trent Hidley not number 1? He should be number 1, in my opinion. Yeah, I understand that Miles Amin and Aaron Brooks are two of the top guys at the weight, but Trent Hidley should be the number 1 seed. Let Amin and Brooks fight it out in the semis. Now that's not happening. We're probably going to get a Hidley and Brooks semifinal. And if you remember, yeah, those two wrestled in the national finals last year. So that's happening in the semifinals, and only one can advance. That's if they even get to that part, because, you got Bolin and Assad on the bottom here. Tough wrestlers. Donna Washington and Romero. Holy cow. Ugh. It's crazy. One guy I want to see do well really at this tournament is Kyle Cochran of Maryland. I want to see him get onto the stand, and I'm calling him out because Maryland. I was just looking at this. I'm putting together this postseason primer for the NCAA championships, which will be available this weekend to buy. Maryland's been 16-61 in the last 5 seasons. Not a great record, dual meet. But if Kyle Cochran can get onto the stand as an All-American, he won the scuffle this year. If he can squeak in there, and I think it's possible, that would be huge for the program. Huge. Now, you got a lot to watch out for. At 197, we got 2 more weights. 197, Maxine number 1, Stephen Buchanan number 2, Eric Schultz number 3, and Pat Bruckey at number 4. Bonacorsi 5, last year's national finalist at that weight. Jacob Warner 6, Rocky Elam 7, and Lou Dupre 8. This is a tough weight where anything can happen. And right at the top here, I'm looking at these matchups. Whoever comes out, Aiello and Norfleet, which is a great matchup first round. Number 16 versus number 17 seed, that's 1 seed separating these guys. Okay? And whoever comes out on top of that will be wrestling Max Dean. And Max Dean, while he's won a lot of the squeakers he's had this season, all but one of them, it's going to be I see this being a tough match. And you look just one more down, Cam Caffey could run into Max Dean, who he's Max Dean's lone loss on his resume this season. And we go down to this half of the bracket. Oh, yeah. Don't forget about Jacob Woodley, who made these semifinals last year, and you never know. He could make a run. Totally possible. And the other guy who I think could make a run here is potentially Younger Bastida, who's just had a great regular season. He lost at conferences, but I still see him having a great postseason, maybe getting on the stand. Buchanan is the dog here. He is just... He's the guy to watch out for at this weight as the number 2 seed. And at heavyweight, Gable Season at the number 1 seed. Number 2 is Colton Schultz. 3, Cassiope. 4, Greg Kirkfleet. 5, Wyatt Hendrickson. 6 Jordan Wood, 7 Mason Paris, and 8 Matt Stencil. So a loaded top 8. Paris all the way down at number 7 shocks me a little bit. You know, I guess he's had those losses, but okay. Okay. Hendrickson, maybe you don't know that name, but he actually has the most pins in the entire NCAA this year. I have everybody. The heavyweight. He's 16 pins. Yeah. So he's somebody to be afraid of that he's gonna toss you over and pin you. And he could meet up with Gray Kirkfleet. Now, if Gray Kirkfleet makes it to the semifinals, he'll have that rematch with Gable Steveson that they wrestled last year. And of course, we know there's a bit of a history between those two guys that goes back to high school. And it was just kind of a fun, exciting, entertaining match. Kirkfleet, I believe, was the last guy to take down Gable Steveson at last year's national championships. Now, Steveson still put a pretty good beating on Kirkfleet whenever they wrestled last year, and I don't necessarily expect anything different this year, but it's just fun to kind of look at that. On the bottom half here, you want to talk about a pretty good ride. I think Cassioppi's got a nice little ride to the quarters, and then he'll have 5-time conference champion, likely Jordan Wood, probably. The bottom here, okay, my goodness. I mean, Colton Schultz is the favorite come to the quarters against Mason Paris, and whoever comes out of that is probably gonna have Cassioppi or Wood. I mean, that is just absolutely brutal. Now, make sure you leave a comment below with what you thought of the brackets. I hope you were commenting along. And my question for you is, which bracket do you think is the toughest to win? I talked about that in this video here, the absolute toughest weight class this season. But before you click on that and go, make sure that you comment below. What's the toughest bracket? Is it 165? Is it 285? Because Gable Stevenson's that lock at the weight. Let me know below. And make sure you subscribe to Fanco Wrestling. Until then, I'll talk to you soon.